bring in the Warriors executive special advisor and, of course, the Hall of Famer. Jerry joins us now. Good morning, Jerry. How are you?
I'm fine, Dan. How are you this morning?
I'm great. I was wondering about the whole topic of three-pointers in the NBA. Would you have wanted to have a three-point line when you played?
Well, obviously it would have helped me, Dan. There's no question it would have helped me because I think the way the game was then, there was really a lot of hand checking. I'm not talking about one hand. You almost feel like you had a steering wheel, with the way the game was played and the way the game was officiated. And I think it made it a little bit easier to get the other components of your game going, driving, getting to the basket a lot easier if the threat of a three-point shot was there, because players would have to honor that and give you a little bit more room, and they couldn't afford to just grab and hold. So it would open up the floor a little bit more, and I think it would have been a good thing. But now when you see, I think there's one game this year with 55 three-point shots taken.
Yeah.
That's an awful lot of three-point shots because I just don't think all those shots are quality shots, and I think this game is designed to be a pretty game, kind of so to speak, with passing, cutting, and now you just see guys one down, 1 on 5, 1 on 4, and I know the analytical people have gotten involved in how much more valuable a shot, but I've always felt that when teams play really well together, the quality of the shot is what matters most.
But can you see a point, Jerry, where it is cyclical, where all of a sudden the big man comes back in, where Shaq said he wouldn't have changed his game. He would still be a dominating force there. But do you see where we will have that inside play and it'll be important or more important than it is now?
Well, I think if you look at what the colleges are putting out, the product they're putting out, it's really very reminiscent of the NBA today. Steph Curry, all these players that can shoot the ball really, really well from distance. Those are the players that these young kids are copying today. Mm-hmm. And the ball handling ability. The other thing that is really that I think is remarkable, if you looked at Eastern Conference Finals, and it tells you about scouting, the number one player taken in the draft was LeBron James, and they were competing against the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. Who was Boston's best player? The number 60th player taken in the draft, Isaiah Thomas. What, he's 5'8"? Mm-hmm. Look what it's done for these young kids out there to his size. It's going to promote more people like that because that gives him the ability, because how clever he is, how he shoots the ball from distance, and amazing how he finishes around the basket for someone that size. That gives players and kids who love to watch the game because it's so fun to watch, if they don't have the ability to go in and run and dunk the ball, which every kid, I dunked at this age in my life, which seems to be a kind of a growing up point for young kids. If they don't have that ability and are tiny or smaller, they can still go compete because that three-point line lets them play the game the way we were seeing it evolve today. But I do think the game goes through cycles. Everyone gets enamored with the incredible skill and talent of LeBron James, but look at the size that he has. Look at the skill that he has. Look how hard he works in the game. And you look at Steph Curry, who physically, he's gifted, but he's not that explosive type player. But look how great he's been. And so I think every generation of players, every generation of the game, you're going to see a constant people being involved in the kind of players that they're watching when they're young. But there's still a place for the big guy, but he's still going to have to be a little bit more versatile than some of the older centers, that's for sure.
Is it fair to compare players? I know we love to do it, but can you compare LeBron to Michael Jordan, given that they played in different eras?
Oh, my goodness, yes. I look at the totality of his work, and, I think when you put the greatest of all time right at the top of the list, Michael Jordan combined some elements that I haven't seen in a basketball player. But I think the thing that stands out to me, and I've always probably felt that players who I like the best are well-rounded players. Now, if they score the ball and they don't do anything else, I'm probably not going to be as big a fan of those kind of players as players who play an all-around game. The totality of his game is enormous. People, because Michael had that swagger, he had that killer look in his face, someone who I greatly admire. LeBron James, in his own right, you could put him up there adjacent to him. And everyone thought, well, look how many rings Michael won. I think that's the craziest way to try to compare a player that you can possibly have. I'll take two players that in this league, Karl Malone and John Stockton, two great players, and they did it on both ends of the court. They never won a championship. Why couldn't people like that be included in there? They just didn't have enough people around them to make them win. And all these players that have played and won a lot, their totality, their game had to be enormous to help win those championships. But you have to look at the people they played with. My goodness, some of the greatest players ever played. And I just think it's unfair to try to compare players who, LeBron James, 7 straight finals, okay?
Yeah.
And in Miami, he had some really great players. He and Dwayne Wade. And Chris Bosh is really a good player. But I didn't feel that he was in their caliber. But with them, he was just better with them. Because when he was in Toronto, he didn't have the same supporting cast. And he played his fanny off there, but he didn't have the same supporting cast. And that supporting cast is what's going to get you to the very zenith in terms of winning championships. I know guys that won 4 or 5 championships never got off the bench. And does that make them great players? No. The people who lifted the bulk of the weight were the ones that got them there.
He's Jerry West, the Lakers Hall of Famer, special advisor to the Golden State Warriors. Would you have any trepidation if you had the chance to select Lonzo Ball because of his dad?
I really don't want to get into that. There's obviously players there that frankly, I don't even like to talk about his dad, okay? I'd rather talk about the kid. His dad, to me, I wouldn't want a father like that, to be honest with you. And because I think he puts added pressure on each kid. He loves these kids, okay? You know that. But this should be about his kids, not about him. And, the Lakers will probably be in a position, are they going to draft him? That's up to them. I think there's 3 or 4 players in this draft that I really like a lot, personally. And to me, they got a big decision to make. And whether they make it because of his father being from Los Angeles and saying he wants to play here in Los Angeles, I wouldn't let a father influence who I drafted. That would be for sure. I would want the player that I felt was the best player at that position, because when you're drafting that position, you cannot afford to miss. You cannot afford, and particularly the Lakers at this point in time, as they're trying to build depth in their roster. They're trying to get to another level right now. So this is imperative for them to take the right player. If that's Lonzo Ball, they're going to take him.
I know you love your job, but it still bothers me that you're not with the Lakers. It does, Jerry. It does. Does it bother you at all?
No, Dan. I honestly, as I say, I think sometimes in your life, when you reflect back on your life, I realize how fortunate I was to play for the Lakers, coach the Lakers, and also be involved with the late Jerry Buss. Those were the most special times in my life. And I think it probably is something that I remember when I started as a player, scared to death I wouldn't even fit in and didn't know that I was good enough to play at the NBA level. And then suddenly playing with someone like Elgin Baylor, who really helped my confidence in early age in my life, and going on to have a career that I never dreamed possible. Then have an opportunity to coach a team, and then have an opportunity to work with Jerry and the Lakers. I felt very much like I was early in as a player, where I didn't know if I would be good enough to do something, or if I was incompetent enough to do something. And Jerry had faith in me to allow me the opportunity to become an executive. And the Lakers had a lot of success, and everyone obviously, when you have success, wants to pass around congratulatory things and this guy did this guy did that. I've never looked at myself that way. I can truly say that, Dan. To me, basketball was the love of my life. It still is. It's the only thing that got me out of what I wouldn't wish on anyone when I was growing up. And I loved the Lakers, okay? And it's a different situation now, a different time. And obviously I wish everyone well over it. My son works there. I'm very proud that he works there. Sometimes I thought in my life that maybe that might be something that I can revisit, or they would want me to revisit it, but that didn't happen. And as I say, at times, I don't say I was disappointed, but it kind of sent me a message, and that they wanted to go elsewhere, which is fine. And but to say that I wouldn't have liked to end my career there, that wouldn't necessarily be true either.
Could you work for the Clippers in the same building?
Could I work for the Clippers in the same building? That's a good question because, as I say, I've always tried to do things under the, I guess, in an invisible kind of way. Obviously, sometimes I wish my name weren't Jerry West. I wish I could just be a normal person, walk down the street and have fun with my friends and people I enjoy being around. That hasn't been the case in my life. And I will tell you, I had a very intriguing meeting with the Clippers. Steve Ballmer is going to be a sensational owner. But, Dan, I'm 79 years old, okay, and I know how much that I value the game of basketball. I know what it's done for me, and I'm still really competitive. I'm just not so sure that anywhere is a good fit for me. And so in the process of, talking to people, obviously it's going to get in the newspaper, and I don't like it that it's gotten in the newspaper, and particularly don't like it because we're playing in the finals, and it shouldn't be a distraction. And I don't think it will be, by the way. I'm more concerned about going up to Oakland tonight and watch the Warriors play and hopefully win this game tonight than all the other noise that's out there about me possibly coming down here. I just don't even want to talk about it, to be honest with you.
Well, I hope you enjoy the process watching the NBA Finals. I know it used to drive you crazy when you were the GM, but hopefully you're enjoying a little bit of this, and safe travels up to Oakland tonight, Jerry.
Well, thank you, Dan. As I say, this has been a special place for me up there. The players we have up there, you couldn't find. Forget their skill and talent. It's the nicest group of people I've ever been around in my life, and it's just a pleasure for me to see something come to fruition like the last 3 years. And it's been fun. I'm hopeful that everyone can achieve their goals, and let's hope it's the Warriors that prevail this year.
Well, a belated happy birthday and safe travels, Jerry. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dan.
That's Jerry West, the Laker Hall of Famer.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.